Welcome everyone, and including those who will kind of join us a little bit later, but we'll go ahead and get started tonight. My name is Tina Watkins. I'm a recruitment specialist at Rung for Women. I'm really excited about our event today. I have as our featured speaker one of my very close friends. She was one of my roommates and one of my bridesmaids. So her name's Morgan, and she works at MasterCard. She is wonderful. And Danielle is our Director of Marketing and Communications. She'll really moderate and lead tonight. But first, I'm going to start with a very brief presentation about Rung for anyone who hasn't heard or has some questions. We will get to that, and then we'll also have time for questions at the end if you have questions about Rung. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get us started. Can we all see this? We good? Okay, perfect. So Rung for Women, our motto these days after our wonderful rebrand is "You got this, you got us." So at Rung, we firmly believe that women already have everything that they need within themselves to achieve their goals, whether that's career, personal, anything like that. Women already have everything that they need, but sometimes they need a little bit of help discovering it and perfecting it. So that's what we do at Rung. We're kind of what we'd call a career accelerator. Because we know that women face systemic, economic, social, and health barriers to their wealth creation, right? In a perfect world, Rung's a nonprofit. So in a perfect world, we wouldn't need to exist. But we know that there are barriers. And so our program is really, it's around helping women climb the economic opportunity ladder, but it's also about helping them reduce barriers while they're on that journey. So as you can see, our vision is that women live equitable and abundant lives. And again, our mission is for all women to climb the economic opportunity ladder. Really what that means in layman's terms is we want to help more women make more money and get into not just jobs, but careers, to help women who feel like they might just be struggling or surviving, making ends meet, or just not happy in their current role and want to reskill. We want to help those women go from that stage into thriving. So again, a lot of what we do is centered around these barrier reductions or benefits. So what you get at Rung as part of our program is personalized career coaching. We call this like a career development specialist. So you work one-on-one with this person throughout your time in the program. We also offer financial education workshops and again, some one-on-one opportunities to work with a financial education specialist. And wellness amenities. We have an on-site gym. We have healthy grab-and-go meals. We have yoga classes, all kinds of really great things, again, to serve the whole person, the whole woman, not just one aspect, right, of your career, but the whole person. And included also in this, I should mention, is childcare, which is a huge thing. And then on the career side, we have what we call professional power skills. That is an 8-week course where we help develop skills that are traditionally referred to as soft skills. We call them power skills because we are, one, about empowerment, but two, there's also an aspect of navigating power dynamics in a workplace. And so we really make that the focus of that curriculum. The next piece that is offered at Rung is technical skills training. So we partner with Coursera to provide technical industry certifications in the specific career tracks that we offer, and I will get to that in a minute. And then our employer partner network, we've identified some employers that we believe, their culture fits to our standards. They're opening and welcoming to women and women of color. They are open. They have their salary meets our standards, and all kinds of things like that. So that list is growing every day. But members who come out through the whole program have access to those employers. And then lastly, we have the Member Success Network, which is essentially our version of an alumni network. It's where, members who have gone through the entire core program can continue to get professional development and have a network and connect with one another. So those career tracks that I mentioned, we are really focused on helping women get into these specific careers. So You'll see listed, we have technology, there's 6 in that area, and I'm excited because our speaker is going to be able to talk about 3 of those areas in the one job that she has. So that's really, really cool. We also have 2 under geospatial, and then coming in the fall, our fall cohort starts in September. And we will also include advanced manufacturing career tracks in that one too. And then really quickly, I'll go through our core program that we often, call it, takes about 12 months. The first 4 months is that one-on-one career coaching, the financial education, the learning of the power skills, and access to all those wellness amenities that I talked about. That takes about 4 months. And then the second part, and this is really the part that we'll be, touching on today and talking about, is the technical career skills training. So talking about the specific career tracks and going through that training, which can take anywhere, depending on the track, from like 3 to 6 or 7 months. And then from there, we also assist with job search, employment, again, access to those employer partners. And then once you phase out of that and you get a job and you've been there for 90 days, you can join the Member Success Network. So in a nutshell, that is Rung and Rung's program and process and timeline. This is our eligibility criteria. You do have to be at least 25 years old. There's an income cap, have a high school diploma or GED, stable housing, all those kind of things. If you have questions about this, feel free to ask me later or shoot me a direct message. I'd be happy to answer. If you know that you want to apply for Rung and be part of the fall cohort, that QR code at the bottom will take you to our what we call a member interest form, which is the first step of the admissions process. You just fill out the form. It's very, very brief. We won't start our next admission cycle really until May, but you can fill that form out anytime. So it's open. So yeah, that is Rung. The last thing I will say is this quote: time is hands down our most coveted, most unrenewable resource. So everything I just described about Rung's program and the technical skills training, all the amenities that are part of it, that comes at no cost to our members. But what it does cost, right, is your time and your energy. And we know even that is a lot to give sometimes. But we are very intentional about how we spend your time. And that includes today. So I will not drone on and on. I will let us get to our program and respect everybody's time so that we can really talk about the careers, cybersecurity, project management, and marketing that Morgan has expertise in. So on that note, I will hand it off to our lovely Director of Marketing and Communications, Danielle Little, to introduce our speaker and get us started.
Hello, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I am Danielle Little, as mentioned previously, the Director of Communications and Marketing, and I am so honored to have our panelist, or our speaker, we don't have a panel, I'm sorry, our speaker, our guest today, Morgan from MasterCard, who's going to be talking about transferable skills and how she took her degree in marketing and communications and leveraged it and transferred it to have a career in cybersecurity. So first off, Morgan, tell us about your role at MasterCard.
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you guys so much for having me. When Tina told me about Rung and their mission, I was so honored that she asked me to be a part of it. Just being a woman in tech in general and being in a very male-dominated corporate setting, you learn some things. So I'm very excited to sit in with you guys and give you as much knowledge and insight into my world as I can to hopefully help you in the future. So a bit about me. I've been with MasterCard for about 6 years within their cyber and intelligence organization. It sounds really fancy. It's really not. It's just cybersecurity. When I first joined, I really thought MasterCard was a card company. I thought it was about banks and finance, things that I'm not particularly good at. You can look at my shopping receipts. So when I first joined, I was terrified. I was nervous. I didn't think that this was my wheelhouse at all. And little did I know, when I started working for the company, there's a huge misconception with MasterCard and other, types of big financial institutions like MasterCard. And the big misconception is that it's a card company, or they deal with your credit and your finances, and sometimes even the fraud that pops up on your bank statements. In actuality, MasterCard is a technology company. So it's really interesting, and it's often misconstrued because on a card, when you have your MasterCard with you, and you're checking out somewhere, you see the words on the card and you think, oh, I'm banking, my bank is kind of MasterCard. MasterCard's my credit card, like that's kind of weird. But really what's happening is the reason MasterCard is actually on your card at all is because your bank is using MasterCard technology to actually process payments. So the money that's coming from your account to, Target when you go buy something, that transfer of money back and forth is actually technology, and that's what MasterCard provides, and that is actually where my job sits. So I just wanted to kind of level set there before I jump in, because sometimes I know when you say MasterCard and cybersecurity in the same word or in the same sentence, it could be a little confusing. And it actually took me a while to understand it as well. So that aside, within the cyber and security organization, what we really focused on doing, or what my particular job is called commercialization. So that really entails, I would say, managing the product managers. So providing them project management for the products that they come up with, that they bring all the way from ideation through a bunch of different steps of the go-to-market process and then into market. And these are technologies. These are not tangible products. They're not something you can touch, anything you can see. So it can be a little bit daunting and confusing. So really, it's so critical that we have good project management practices in place to get through all of the difficult road ahead that is, project management, getting to market as simply and efficiently as possible. So that's a bit about my job, and I know we'll probably go into it a little bit more, but.
Okay, well, that you gave us a mouthful. I never looked at MasterCard as a technology company, but the way that you explain that, it does make sense. And so thank you for that explanation, and thank you for telling us how you were able to go from being in marketing and communications to going to your role at MasterCard. So I was told that you're on an all-female team, which is something, especially in the tech world, that you just don't hear about. So what is that experience like? And then how do you encourage other women to embrace technology within MasterCard?
Yeah, so my team, I'm the most proud of. I love this group of women. They're moms, they're leaders in their area. They're kind, good people. And we have a lot of fun together. I love hanging out with them just on a personal level, going to happy hour or, just hanging out. I truly enjoy the ladies on my team. So when we first started out, it was my boss. She hired me right out of college with my communications and marketing degree. So she was kind of going out on a whim for me in a way, because I didn't have any experience thus far. So really, when she hired me, it was just the two of us. We were trying to figure out how to start this new team called commercialization. She noticed that it was something that was critical for our organization to start doing. And so, naturally, I came on the bandwagon and I started helping her create process and, trial and error, figure out what worked, what didn't, document these processes and how to go through them with our product managers. So now, move forward 6 years later, we have a team of 9 ladies who are just phenomenal. We have all different backgrounds. So, we have a woman who came from finance, one who was a technical writer. We have one who came from the legal world. And then, so on, one came from engineering. So kind of all over the place, but we each bring kind of a niche or, like a little piece of the process we excel at, right? And then together as a whole, we really kind of round out that full start to finish, get a product to market in the space. We kind of round that out and are able to provide our own expertise. So I would say our dynamic is wonderful. We're very supportive of one another. We're always willing to lend a hand to somebody else. If I'm particularly not great at finance and pricing products and things, and so I'll always go to my colleague Shannon, who comes from a finance background, and she's always willing to help me. And then vice versa when she needs help with putting sales materials or marketing together. So I'd like to say also that we're a complete no ego zone. Ego is something that you find kind of running rampant around corporate America, especially in male-dominated fields. And so having a group of ladies to kind of just like, okay, let's get our group together. Let's figure out what's going on. Egos aside, if we need to ask stupid questions, we ask stupid questions. And I really do credit my boss the most, I think, for our team dynamic. She's really kind of built this team from the ground up. And she's really taught us, in something that I've instilled in other people, because she's instilled in me, is really to, despite someone's ego, their title, how many years they've been with a company or in a particular discipline, you have every right to, say what's on your mind, ask the questions you need to ask, do what you need to do to be successful and help those people. Sometimes with ego involved, with titles involved, it can get a little bit, oh, should I say that? Should I ask that question? I don't want to look stupid, or I don't want to seem disrespectful. And my boss has really been somebody to instill in me and my coworkers that, you have to ask those questions. You have to challenge people. It makes it makes your organization better. It makes our team better, and it makes you better and more confident in yourself. So I would say that would be something that I would encourage people to do when they're embracing the tech world, is to remember that.
I love the no ego zone. Like, I think that's a wonderful thing. But what I'm also getting from this conversation is, you mentioned that you were hired at MasterCard by your boss, like right out of college, knowing that you did not have like a degree in finance or a degree in technology. So I guess my first question is, what do you think it was about your resume or about your interview process with your boss that enabled her to see that you would be someone that would be good for the team? And then how do you apply the knowledge that you have and the transferable skills in communications and marketing to MasterCard and to your role?
Yeah, so I mean, from an interview perspective, I think I interviewed well. I'm good at talking, I think. Sometimes it's, after the fact, trying to actually learn what I'm supposed to do, it's different. And then just talking about what you can do. So I'm not, from an interview perspective, I would say that, I just put my best foot forward. I was very honest when I didn't understand something, or when when she said, I think there was a question that she had asked me, and I still remember this. What would you do if you disagreed with someone and you knew they were wrong about something? How would you go about telling them that they were wrong or challenging them? And I think my answer was good, but it's truly what I do now to this day is, if there is, for example, an executive that's I know is making the wrong decision, and I can see them going down the wrong path, what I'll do is I'll write it out. I'll show, if you go this path, this is what's going to happen. If you follow my path, this is what will happen. Really doing the legwork and working really hard to make them see your point of view, and that you know what you're talking about, and that you have confidence in what you're saying. So I think that question, really kind of hit well, because that's really all I do in my job now is I guide and I help tell our product managers and their bosses, you're making the wrong decision, or you're doing something that's going to delay your time to market, or, you know, you're going to piss off some customers. Like those are the things that I have to be I challenge people on now. So in my interview, I think I was just very upfront and I said, you know, this is what I would do. I probably wouldn't know what I was talking about, but I would make sure that I did the research and I looked it up and I understood what I was saying when I was bringing it to them, to talk to them in a discussion in a respectful, in a respectful way. So I think from an interview perspective, that's one part of it. My resume, I don't know what she saw on my resume. I mean, it looked pretty. I was a designer, so I mean, I always made it look nice. But I really do think that my boss and I, we just have a very unique relationship. I respect her so much, and she, I think, kind of looks at me like a daughter to the point where this is probably not as professional, but she will be sitting in the office and she'll ping me and she'll be like, "There's a really cute boy over there, Morgan. He's really cute. You should go talk to him." Like, she's so goofy when it comes to that. And we've had such a great relationship personally as well. So I think we just clicked as people, and I don't take that for granted. I know not everybody gets that great of a situation to be placed into, and I just lucked out and I'm so grateful for it.
Yes, we all should be so lucky to have a boss like yours.
She's
Sounds,
wonderful.
yeah, sounds fun. Sounds fun. But for the transferable skills that you did come out of, college with, and your skill set, how were you able to apply that to your role?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I will preface this by saying when I first got to MasterCard and I got the job, I did well in my interview. I sold everybody. I said, okay, they trust me. I'm going to do it. And I get there and I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what any of this means. I'm totally lost. I need to study. I need to Google. I'd be in meetings Googling what is artificial intelligence, things like that. And I felt so stupid, which I shouldn't have, but I did. And, it took me a while, but what I eventually learned was that my skills were so important at MasterCard. And the reason being is because in a tech field, you have engineers, developers dominating that field, right? You've got a lot of really smart cookies. They're developing things, they're data scientists, they're all kinds of things. And when you ask them, hey, data scientist, what are you doing right now? What product are you making? What are you customer? And they say, well, it's blah, 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 and it has this model and this and this and that. And your head is spinning and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what they just said. That's when they need people with the skills like I have that can communicate, write, visually depict things, to basically translate essentially translate developer speak, what they're doing at a technical level into words and communications that our customers understand, the industry can understand, people who don't know anything about, these sort of things can understand. It's really important that we have those people. And if we're being honest, I think we need more of me in our field. And it's unfortunately, they will hire the developers first. They will hire the people with those like technical skills first. But I will tell you that one thing I'm noticing in my 6 years of being at MasterCard in this organization is that when it comes to selling things, when it comes to actually being in front of customers, we fall down every time because we don't have enough people in our organization who understand it at a basic level and can explain it to anybody and can make it make the point that you need this security. You need it, and humanize it in a way that, a customer can understand. If I don't have this, my customers are at risk, I'm at risk, the ecosystem is at risk. And we don't have people who can, I don't say dumb it down, but who can put it in layman's terms like that as well. So I think that's pretty much how my soft skills have been, or my skills have kind of been converted. But not to say I don't need to know the technical things I do, but my bread and butter is really translating.
So what I'm getting from you is that we look at tech and it's to a lot of us that are not in tech or maybe looking from the outside in, we think that it's it's very sciencey, very engineering. I know I'm making up my own words, but
Oh,
you know,
you're
very technical, right? But
Yeah.
with the technical comes breaking it down for people like you and I who are not, you know, necessarily, you know, that high level tech person, to make
Yeah.
it palatable for the everyday tech user. And
Exactly.
the skill that you brought to that was being with your writing and with communications and being able to tell a story, is to be able to take this developer language and this tech language and make it you know, make sense to the everyday user. And that's a skill set that the high-end developer does not have, and that you brought to the table.
Absolutely. And I will say, to further on that point, is, you know, there are some days where my boss's boss, my executive, he'll come straight to me, not the data scientist who's been there 20 years, who's a, you know, a senior vice president who, you know, makes tons of money and has this great rapport, to ask him what's going on with this product and why can't we sell it yet, and what, you know, what's going on. He'll come straight to me, because our executives don't have time to talk that language. They don't know that language. They're up there high level, not in the weeds. And they need to know what's going on in the simplest way possible, so that they can then, you know, either throw it further up the chain to executives who are even more further out of the loop and out of the weeds, or again, like I said, you know, be interfacing with industry folks, customers, things like that. Like, so it's really, actually, I would say, more than anything, propelled me in my career, having those skills, because otherwise I don't think I would be talking to my, you know, executive vice president very often. I don't think I wouldn't be as valuable to him. I am valuable to him, I think, because we speak the same language, and I've done the work to understand what our developers, what our engineers are doing, so that I can give him the information that he needs in a quick and simple way.
So you are having conversations with your boss's boss's boss. Like, that is amazing. And that is because you brought a skill set that they needed.
Yep.
Um, and so so that's a way to look at it too. What can I bring to the table that can help enhance, you know, everyone's experience, not only the end user's experience, but the people that already work for the company. I think if you show that as an asset, that's something that you can definitely transfer to pretty much, you know, any role, including a tech role. But you mentioned earlier about, you know, getting on Google and Googling AI and all these type of terms. What do you think was the hardest thing transitioning into tech? Like, what was it that you had to learn?
So I would say I'm pretty fortunate, because I don't have a role that makes me get so far in the weeds where I'm interfacing with, you know, engineers all day long, and I'm having to figure all these things out and relearn everything. Um, Truly, I don't do that as often. Um, I think the most difficult things to learn are, you know, like those buzzwords, artificial intelligence, you know, systemic risk, things that are, I'm coming off the top of my head right now, things I'm working on. You know, what is cybersecurity? What is all these things? I am a very inquisitive mind. I want to know what I'm writing about, what I'm talking about. And so for me, I think the difficult part is that people use these words so interchangeably, right? So cybersecurity can mean one thing for me and a different thing for you. You're talking to me at MasterCard, my cybersecurity journey looks different than someone at, let's say, Apple. So I think the hardest part was getting that scope. What does it mean? What do these things mean to me? What do they mean to somebody who doesn't know much about it? And really having to take those complex ideas of, you know, these different technologies, like you said, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Okay, so what? Like, they're huge concepts. There's huge concepts. There's a lot of, you know, ideas around what they do and how they help people, because they can help people in so many ways. And so it's really, I think the hardest part was not necessarily understanding the technology themselves, but how it fits together, how you talk about it, how you put it in a narrative, and that sort of thing. And I think that was the most difficult part for me, because I wanted to know, well, Google said this was that. And then I looked at all this market industry research and it says, cybersecurity has these things involved in it. And, it's understanding the scope. And a big part of that, I think, is cybersecurity is relatively new. I know it's not a new buzzword, but it's relatively new in the sense that, they're still determining cybersecurity standards across the world. They're still working with franchise groups and, education leaders and things to try to figure out what do we do with all this new technology, and, how do we rein it in? How do we create regulations around it, and all this? So it's so new, even though it's not a new word. So that's kind of my job at MasterCard, is to figure out how do we take these really large concepts that are going around, that everybody has a preconceived idea that they know what it is, and put it into a story that really is inside the guardrails of what MasterCard does and what we're trying to do with the technology. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does make sense. And I first of all, I have a newfound appreciation for being proactive, because it seems like with your career, the things that you didn't know, you made it a point to find out, whether it was, through Google or through asking questions, and not being afraid to not know. Because one of the things I've heard a lot, especially as we do these events, is that employers want employees who are not afraid to ask questions, and who are not afraid to learn, and who aren't afraid to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. I think that, and to walk in there wanting to learn. I think if you walk in there with those soft skills and those transferable skills, and you have a thirst to learn, most employers will hire you, even if you may not have, all the criteria that one may think that you need to have. But let's talk to the woman that's watching right now, who has those transferable skills that you speak of, like that you had when you got your job at MasterCard. Let's talk to her. What would you tell her if you could have a conversation with that woman about her transferable skills and getting into tech? What is it that she needs to know?
A couple of things. The first thing is, like you mentioned, you hit on, ask questions. Don't feel stupid to ask questions. It's so important. And honestly, there's nothing better than that feeling of when you're talking to someone and you're asking the question and you get this light bulb moment and you get it. And it's just like the most awesome feeling, right? It's so much fun. So that, I'd say, ask questions. I would say also a huge part of my success in my career has been to not say no. And I know that sounds crazy, given that time is a very important thing. And trust me, I'm not great at time management. I'll be the first to tell you. But one thing that I've really tried hard to do is to never say no when my manager or, someone else within my group comes to me and says, Morgan, I really need your help with this. And I look at it and I say, I don't know what this is. I don't know anything about it. I have no idea. Instead of saying that, instead of saying, I have no idea how to help you, or I don't have time to help you, I always say, yes. I said, I'll try my best. I will do what I can. So I would say 100% of the time that I just said yes to somebody, even though I was completely out of my element and didn't know what I was doing, I ended up either learning something ridiculously awesome that helped me, be able to, in conversations and meetings, be able to speak up on things and actually feel very confident that I knew what I was talking about. I did the research. I did the work to know what to say. So that was a big thing. And then also, I think, if you learn things that you're not expecting to learn by saying yes to projects you might not normally say yes to, I've really created my own job. And I know this sounds crazy, but what I've done is when my boss comes to me and she says, Morgan, this is weird. I need you to do this though. I don't know what I'm doing. I do it anyway. And I end up kind of coming up with a way to do it that then is, I interface with the right people. I talk to the people that I need to understand it. I ask the questions. I look at market research, whatever it is that I need to do. I'll do it. I'll come back to my boss, say, this is what I've put together. You know, if you hate it, I'm sorry. You know, we can fix it. We can work on it. But this is what I put together. A lot of times I've worked on it really hard that she's liked it, liked my projects, liked what I've pulled together. And then it's kind of been like an ongoing project for my particular role now in the company. So I'll give you an example. We'd never had an internal website for cyber insecurity. We'd never talked to each other across teams, and it was always very siloed. And so when I first got to MasterCard a couple years after, she said, I want you to learn how to this platform, SharePoint, and I need you to create an internal website, and I need you to make it look really good, really shiny. It needs to have all these things on it. And I was like, I'm not a website builder. I've never done such a thing. I can make it look nice. I could tell somebody how to make it look nice. But I just had to do it. And I ended up doing it. And now it's part of my entire job. I do it every day. I always keep up the information on it. It's got, it's a huge website now. Everyone uses it in our group. It's become a very, very important resource. And I never would have been able to say that I did something like that if I just didn't take the leap and say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. I'm not confident, but I'm going to try it. So that was a huge thing. And that's been a reoccurring theme, I think, in my career, is just to say yes. And I would say, I'm trying to think of any more. I don't have any off the top of my head. That might be it.
Okay, that's fine. That is totally, you've given us a lot. So that's fine. You gave us a lot to think about there. So your position at MasterCard incorporates 3 of our focus tracks here at Rung, our career tracks: marketing, project management, and cybersecurity. Can you explain what each of these are separately and tell us how each of them shows up in your role day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. So just a level set, I would say that if you're having a hard time following kind of what my job is, I would say I work in the cybersecurity industry, right? That's the industry in which my career is in. But within that industry, I work in project management. And then the part of project management that I excel at the most, that I help the most with, is the marketing side of project management. That's always a part of, the project management process. So that's kind of how they all fit together. So I'm not like doing all these jobs at once and I'm a cybersecurity expert and I'm a marketing genius or whatever. It just kind of happened that it's just layered within itself. So starting out first with cybersecurity, at MasterCard, cybersecurity is really all about the digital ecosystem. So what I mean by that is every interaction that you have digitally connects to another interaction digitally, right? And another and another. And, this ecosystem is the same for everyone, whether you're a a consumer, whether you're a bank, whether you're a business, a small business, a nonprofit. So anybody who has a digital presence, whether it be any of those entities, they're all impacted by the hygiene of our ecosystem, how safe it is to transact. Whether you're shopping online, setting up an account with your bank online, transacting, all of those experiences have security embedded within them. To make you safe and to keep the business safe or the bank safe in which you're interacting with. So that's something that's kind of like underlying what we do at MasterCard in the cybersecurity world. Is when I say cybersecurity, that's what I mean. It's those security measures that are put in place that you and I as consumers don't know about. But banks and businesses buy these security measures to put in place so that we stay safe and that they're protected from things like cyber attacks, any type of cyber threat, third party, vendor risk, anything like that happens. Supply chain risk, all kinds of things. So we don't necessarily see it as consumers, but it's there. So that's what I would kind of define cybersecurity as within MasterCard. Let's see. For project management, within this space, it's very interesting and actually pretty complicated. There are a lot of steps that are involved in getting a technology product to market, right? So a lot of times these technologies ingest data, so personal data. So, if I'm setting up my account online and I have to enter my birthday and my phone number and my credit card number, that's all personal information to me, and that could be compromised, right? So there's liability on Mastercard to make sure that the technology that we get out there is safe to use. It's ingesting data the right way, it's meeting the right standards, but not just that. It's we don't have glitches or weird techie problems going on. We don't have let's see, we don't have customers who are unhappy with the friction that security might be causing in their overall transaction flow. There's a lot of different things that could go wrong if project management is not done the right way within the tech space. And so what my job is in terms of project management is to not only define the process that our project managers must go through when they're creating a product or enhancing a product, but making sure that they go through those right and do the due diligence that's required to get that product to market in the most efficient and the most responsible way. And so just as like a glimpse into the process that I've created for our product managers, so our project management process, it's very simple and everybody would understand it. It's common sense, it's common knowledge. And for some reason, before me and my manager started, tackling this, no one knew how to get a product to market. Like it was so, like there was so much red tape and bureaucracy, and there wasn't a lot of just like do this, this, and this, and that's it, and then you're done. So what we did was we created 10 simple steps that we adhere to: ideation, finance, legal, operations, so that's your development, engineering, marketing, which is what my kind of bread and butter is, sales, delivery and support, customer communications, documentation, and then finally go live. So you're out in market and you're selling to customers and you're getting these technologies, embedded into their systems. So those are 10 like super simple steps that we follow. That's what we've built our whole process around. So, over, multi-billion-dollar businesses focused on 10 little steps. Like it's so common sense that it's funny because no one had thought about it before like that. And so these steps were, like I mentioned, developed by my manager and I. We set out to create the process as simple as possible. And like I mentioned, to cover off all of that due diligence that a product manager should be doing before they go to market. Trying to think. So I guess it's important to mention that while I'm not necessarily a product manager, I don't manage a particular product, I help guide multiple product managers through the process. So through kind of working with them, I get to know their products sometimes even better than they do. I sit in on their meetings. I create their personalized project plans when they tell me, what their product idea is or their enhancement idea is. I sit down with them and we come up with a plan. So essentially, I'm kind of like a product manager, but I don't actually have to touch the products or the development or anything like that. I just kind of get to guide it, if you will, to market, which is really fun because I get to learn a lot about a lot of different products. A lot of times when you're a product manager, you have one product, it's your sole focus. And so I'm lucky because I get to see kind of across a lot of different ones, which is cool. And then finally, quickly, marketing. So marketing in cybersecurity space isn't all that glamorous. It's not really what I expected to do when I was in college and taking my design classes and thinking I was going to come up with the next amazing campaign that was going to be featured on Super Bowl Sunday. Totally not like that. We sell B2B, so business to business marketing. It's just not as fun. It's basically our business folks going in, or our salespeople going in and talking to another business's sales folks, and then at the end of the day, the people who leverage that is consumers, but we don't actually talk to them or get to market to them. So when you see those MasterCard priceless campaigns or anything like that, that's really not for our technology. It's really just to bring brand awareness. So it's fun, it's important, and like I said, that's the biggest part of my job. Where my skills have come in is translating these very difficult 30-page product guides and putting them into a 10-slide presentation that our salespeople can use and go use to sell with. So that's actually probably the biggest part of my job. It's weirdly enough not the sexiest part, like I always thought it would be, but it's super important, and it's honestly kind of why I think I was hired for the job in the first place. So I think I
Okay.
covered.
I'm sorry. I didn't
Oh, I
mean
said
to
I think I covered off all of them. I was
You
thinking if
did.
I
You did cover off. And we're starting to run out of time, and we want to make sure that we open it up to questions for the audience too. But wanted to get this question in as well. What is your favorite part about your job at MasterCard?
the people. I'm a people person. I love people. I love talking to good people. I love people who are kind. And like I said, leave the egos at the door. And, even some of our developers and engineers and things who are leaps and bounds way smarter than me, they'll come over and have a conversation with me, and we'll chit chat about their kids or whatever. And, the people that I work with are so genuinely kind, and, title doesn't matter. How long you've been with the company doesn't matter. If you have a question, you're not annoying. It's really been the people for me from day one. And then, also, I'm going to cheat and do a second one. My second favorite part of the job is once you really understand what we're doing, and how important what we're doing is to not just me and you as consumers, but to businesses, to small businesses that, people have put their whole life savings into, and, they need to protect those businesses. And that's what we do. That's our job, is to make sure that the ecosystem as a whole is safe, and it gives people the ability to transact with confidence, and businesses to be able to move digitally online with confidence that they are not going to be attacked, or they're not going to experience some sort of awful thing that's going to completely fold their business, and bankrupt them. So just knowing from that end too, how important it is to be able to transact in a safe environment and interact in a safe environment, that's been a new one for me as I've learned more and more about the job. That's become increasingly, something that I really enjoy, and I find, meaningful.
And if you weren't aware, if you have a question, you can leave it in the chat box, and I will make sure to get those questions asked to Morgan. While we're waiting for questions, how have you been able to advance within MasterCard? You've been there for 6 years, I believe, right?
Yeah.
What has the advancement opportunities been like?
So good. I've been so blessed. I really have, and I'm so grateful. I've had a lot of phenomenal opportunities to grow, to create the job I want, essentially, by telling my boss or something, I like to do this, I don't like to do this. Can we change my objectives next year? And because everything that we're doing is so important, I mean, it's okay. I really have an open line of communication with her, and we're really able to kind of, create my own role. In terms of moving up, I think my biggest, I don't know if this sounds bad, but I don't care about it. I don't care about moving up. I mean, I definitely want to be compensated for the work that I'm doing. I definitely want to be given the credit where credit's due. But I am not a title person. I'm not somebody who endlessly networks with people, or, I've just never been that way. I've always really just tried to get to know people as a person and not as a professional, because I think you're a person first and foremost, and you have things that are much more important outside of your job, like your children and your spouse, or whatever it may be. So yeah, I would say, yeah, I think that's it.
You did so good, Mower. We have a couple questions that came through in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of moderate those. The first one, and I'm going to tack this onto a question of my own. I'm going to cheat a little. So what advice would you give yourself just starting out? And in addition to that, that question came from Perla, who hi Perla, I think you're going to be one of our members. So that's exciting. As in the spring 2023 cohort that starts in like 2 weeks. But so yeah, what advice would you give yourself just starting out? And when you were first starting out, did you see yourself like as a tech person or like as a woman in tech?
No way. I thought this was temporary. I really did. I was like, whoa, they're paying me? All right, cool. I'll work here for a while and figure out my next steps. Little did I know, here I am, and I've had the same boss and the same job for 6 years, which is very unlike a lot of people, I feel, who are just starting out, because movement is important in things, but I get plenty in my day-to-day. Every day is different. So I feel like, until I run out of things to learn, there's not really a need for me to jump ship. So as far as what was the question, Tina? What I would tell myself first starting out?
Yep. What advice would you give yourself just starting out?
Like I said earlier, always say yes to things. Even if you don't feel confident in doing them, just take the chance. Take the chance and try to figure something out and do the best you can. And a lot of times it's going to work out. And it's going to be so rewarding for you to know that you can do something outside of your wheelhouse. You can put it on your resume. I think it's so important. And then I would also say to just like be a person first. There's a lot of times I see with people my age just this ambition, and that's so good. Ambition is amazing, and you want to do as best as you can at whatever you're doing. But I see a lot of times that these people that I kind of talk to, they don't really want to know about me. They want to know about my job, or they want to know about, oh, what do you do? Like, could you put me in touch with this person or this person? And that's cool. Like, networking is great and it's so important and it has a place. But I think to just be a person first and care about the people that you work with and build relationships that way. That's been probably a really big key to my success, is that I just want to get to know the people, and in turn I think that they trust me and they like me more for that. And so when they're asking for people to help them on projects or for advice, they come to the people that aren't going to say something because it betters their own career or because it helps them out in the long run, but because genuinely they care about you, or they care about the people that they work with. It's kind of like kumbaya. Sorry.
No, I love it. I kind of live by that too, but no, that's great. I'm going to move. I wish we could talk more about it. We're going to move to the next question because there's a handful. Have you had to undergo additional training or get additional certifications for your role?
No, I haven't actually. And I have asked my boss many times if I should go back and get a master's degree. I love school. I'm a huge nerd. I love learning about new things, as you can probably tell. And so I was really keen on maybe going back. And she basically sat me down and said, Morgan, I will never discourage you from getting education or learning things that you want to learn. But she's like, if you truly want to learn, you're learning more in your career than you could ever learn in a classroom. And it kind of hurt me a little bit, because I was like, oh, I really want to go back to school. I like school so much. And, I don't want to be done. But at the same time, given, the cost of school, I just didn't necessarily have the means at the time to go back. So, I felt like her advice was pretty sound, because she had a master's degree. And she said, from experience, no, she's like, you're learning so much here, you don't need to. So, and luckily I haven't had to be certified in anything else. I could go get certified in things, but I don't have the time sometimes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Emma Bryant asked, do you work remotely, hybrid, or on site?
Yeah, so through COVID, we were working just remote. Before that, I was in the office, and then now I'm hybrid. So I go in about a day or 2 days a week, which I really enjoy because I get to hang out with my dog at home and be here, and so that's really nice. And I will say, work-life balance of working from home is a little bit difficult. So it's been really hard for me to try to figure out my work-life balance as somebody who works from home and never really shuts off in my brain or online. So, but yeah, pretty much hybrid.
Okay, this is our sort of the last question for now that I see, in case we don't get any more, but Perla also asked, when asking someone more experienced a question for clarification, how do you access courage and approach that situation?
Oh, that's a good question, because sometimes I'll have a day where I feel like the dumbest person in the room. I mean, like I do, and I think you can't help that. That's human nature. But and I still struggle to know how to approach it. Um, you know, it depends on the setting that you're in, I think. If you're in the middle of a big conversation with 22 people in it, I probably won't have the guts to say, hey, you're wrong, or I'm going to challenge you in front of your peers. But maybe pinging them on the side, like IMing them on the side and saying, hey, I would love a little bit more clarification about what you had said. I was doing, some work and noticed that, this might be a better approach, but I'm not sure. I would love to talk with you about it. I could throw some time on your calendar. That I do a lot. Sometimes if I'm just fed up though, like if there's like 5 people and I'm like over it, say, I really think that you should consider doing this, because in my experience, seeing somebody go down this commercialization path or whatever it may be, going through this legal review when you don't have to, just, as an example, it's never really it's never bought them anything. It's not going to help you. It's going to hinder you. Just being very respectful, and also showing that you've had experience in this in the past, and that you might know what you're talking about. And if it's truly just a question, I just ask it. I mean, or I'll say, excuse me, like I don't have a bunch of context around this. Could you please explain a bit more, and maybe even offer, hey, I have a question about this particularly, like on the side. Could I set some time to go through it with you? And in my company, I've been very fortunate, and 9 times out of 10, they'll, meet with me anytime I need them to, or, ping me or whatever, and we chat about it and they answer my questions.
All
I hope
right.
that helps.
I think I found it helpful. Hopefully Perla found it helpful too.
And just being kind, just being nice. That's a big one too. Just being nice and not pretending like you know everything that they don't know. Just, being humble about it. Hey, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Could you please help me? That's okay too.
I love that. I think a lot of times in the workplace, women, oftentimes we doubt ourselves, or we get that like self-doubt cycle in our heads. We overthink it. We think we're not qualified. We get worried to ask questions. So, definitely being sure to like kind of combat those is what it sounds like, and just not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to learn, that kind of stuff. So we are at time. I know, like out of respect of time, we'll go ahead and just kind of close out. If you do have any extra questions, you can feel free. I'll put my email in the chat. We'll also follow up with everybody after the event, and just, make sure that you got what you needed. And if you have any further questions, but we want to thank everyone for coming tonight. And I especially want to thank you, Morgan, for being our speaker and for helping us learn a little bit more about all these different career areas and about just being a woman in this space. Your perspective is so cool. And I thank you so much for being here and for sharing it.
Thank you for having me and listening to my spiel. I didn't think it was interesting, but Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Morgan. And for those of you that want more information about Rung, you can go to our website, rungforwomen.org. And for our next cohort this fall, you can visit our Get Started page and fill out the member interest form, and someone will be in touch.
All righty. Well, on that note, we will say goodnight, and thank you all again for coming and joining us for this event.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
answering my questions.
Yes, of course. Thank you for asking them. We needed some content. So all right, y'all. I think I'm gonna end the meeting now. It might let me, it might not. So have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.